All right, guys. So we're going to start today with these videos for our spiral reviews. I'm going to go over them here so that as you finish and you're ready to move on to your Zern lesson, you can go over your spiral review first and then move on at your own pace. So I wanted to make sure that you are on the page that says weekly math review, Q1, and then what would be like week 7. We got a little off track last week, so I figured we could just go ahead and start here. It might be 1 or 2 pages ahead of where you left off, but I think we'll be okay for the rest of the year. So, okay, so this first question, they want us to find an equivalent fraction. Remember, when we're finding equivalent fractions, we're just going to do the same thing to the top and the bottom. So for 5/9, we could pick a number to multiply it by. I like to just do 2. It's nice and easy usually. And just make sure that you multiply by 2 on both the top and the bottom. 5 times 2 would give us 10, and 9 times 2 would give us 18. That's one possible answer. If you multiplied by a different number, obviously your answer is going to be different, but that'll be okay. With 10/12, I wanted to remind you it's okay to divide as long as you do the same division to the top and the bottom. So I noticed that both of these could be divided by 2. And if we divide them by 2, then this fraction becomes 5/6. And that's an equivalent fraction to 10/12. Okay, the next question is just addition. So we're just going to find the product here. 9 plus 9 is 18. Carry the 1. 4 plus 0 plus 1 gives us 5. 8 plus 4 gives us 12. So we're going to keep the 2, carry the 1. 9 plus that 1 would give us 10. Plus 2 more would give us 12. Keep the 2, carry the 1. 7, 8 plus 4 more is also going to give us 12. And this is just a comma, so we don't have to worry about decimals in this one. We're just going to come over 3, put our comma, and that's the answer for number 2. Okay, the third question, it says it takes Cindy 3/4 of an hour to complete a puzzle. So I'm going to write that down, 3/4 of an hour. How many puzzles can Cindy finish in 3 hours? So there's a couple of different ways we can do this. I want to do it by drawing a picture first. So I'm going to draw 3 circles to represent these 3 hours. Okay, and then I'm going to divide these circles into fourths because that's what my denominator is. So now I have the 3 hours, and within each hour I have it divided into fourths. Well, if I want to see how many 3/4 are in here, one way I could do it is by coloring in 3/4 at a time. And just to help us keep track, I'm going to switch colors each time I color in another 3/4. So there's 1/3. This 1, 2, 3 would be another 3/4. So colors again. 1, 2, 3 would be another 3/4. And I'll just go back to the red. 1, 2, 3, that would be another 3/4. So then if I go back and I count up how many different 3/4 I made, here was 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that's 4 puzzles that she could do in the 3 hours. Now, if we just wanted to do this mathematically, we could take 3 hours, divide it by the 3/4 of an hour that it takes her to do each puzzle. Okay, and of course, when we divide something with a fraction, we're going to use our keep, change, flip method. So we're going to keep the 3. I'm also going to put that over 1. So we're doing fractions on both sides. And then change our division symbol to a multiplication and flip 4/3. So now I would have 3 times 4, which would give me 12, and 1 times 3, which would give me 3. And if I simplified that down, I could divide it, if I divided 3 into 12, that would give me 4, which is exactly what I found with my picture. So we feel comfortable with our answer. We got it 2 times. So that's how I would solve, or that's a couple ways you could solve number 3. Okay, number 4, they want us to find the quotient. Quotient is the word that we use for the answer to a division problem. So I'm going to see, can I put 20 into 8? No, we know that right away. Can I put 20 into 80? Yes, I can. And if I don't feel comfortable counting by 20s, I can think about how many 2's would go into 8. But I feel okay about counting by 20s. So I could do 20, 40, 60, 80. So that would give me 4. Okay, 4 times 20, obviously, we just counted that, is 80. Then I'm going to subtract. So far I would have 0 and 0. And pull that 2 down. Now I can't put 20 into 2, so I've got to put a placeholder above my 2. And then I can pull the 9 down and see if that would work. Well, 20 is smaller than 29, so I can put 1 in, okay, and that'll leave me with 20. All right, no angels singing. So I'm going to put a decimal. When I subtract here, I'm left with 9. So I need to pull down a 0. Now, I knew that into 80, I would have 4 20s. And if I went one more, I know that would be 100. So I'm actually going to do 4 again. And remember, with decimals in division, we just bring that decimal straight up. Okay, so we're going to 20 into 90 goes 4 times. That leaves me with 80 this time. Okay. Then when I subtract there, I'm left with 10. Can't put 20 into 10, so I got to add one more 0. Feeling pretty good about this. 20 into 100, or 2 into 10, goes 5 times. And that's going to give me 100, and I'm going to have 0. So that's our final answer, 401.45. Okay, for this one, let's see, this is number 5, the 5th one down. We're going to find the difference, and difference means subtraction in math. Also, both of these numbers have a decimal, and when we're doing addition or subtraction, we have to line up the decimal. Okay, so that made it so that there's this blank spot up here, and that's okay. And if it helps your brain, just put a 0 there. Remember, zeros in decimal land, if they're on the end, they don't have any value. So it won't change that number if you just put a 0 there, if it helps you a little bit, okay? Well, if I have 0, I can't take 7 away from it, so I've got to go next door and borrow some. So I'm going to put 1 there. Now I have 10 minus 7. That'll leave me with 3. Okay, well, I can't take 8 away from 3, and I can't go next door. There's nothing there to borrow, so I got to go one more. Let's go ahead and borrow from 8. We'll change that over to a 7, which we can now make this a 10. And now we can borrow from our next door neighbor. I would leave that as a 9, and then now we have 13 minus 8. 13 minus 8 is going to leave us with 5. 9 minus 2 is going to leave us with 7. The decimal in in addition and subtraction just comes straight down, okay? 7, I can't take 8 out of there, so I've got to go next door. Leave that guy with 1 and leave this one with 17. So 17 minus 8. Well, that's going to end up as 9. Okay. 1 minus nothing is 1. And 1 minus nothing is 1. So our final answer is going to be 119.753. Okay, let's take a look at number 6. So for this one, we are finding the least common multiple. Remember, multiples are many. Okay, so that means we are counting by these numbers. It could go on and on forever. There's many possibilities, but we're looking for the least common multiple. Okay, so let's take a look with 3. If we count by threes, we'd start with 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. What would be next? 18. Okay, I think we might need to keep going. Then we'd have 21 and 24. And I know that 24 is a multiple of 8. So let's see if that's the first one we run into. All right, so with 8, we'd have 8. Then we'd have 16. I don't see a 16 over here. Oops. The next one, 8, 16, 24. So 24, in fact, is the least common multiple. It's the first one we run into. So 24 is our answer there for number 6. Okay, so number 7, they want us to find the missing number of each unit rate. Okay, so we've practiced a lot finding rate. And remember, in fraction form, it's just another way to write a ratio, right? So we just have a ratio of 10 to 2. And they have shown us that they've gotten the 2 to 1. So first of all, we want to figure out, what did they do to the 2 to get it to be a 1? Well, I know that if I divide any number by itself, that's going to give me an answer of 1, right? So if I do it to the bottom, you know I have to do it to the top. So 10 divided by 2, that would give me 5. So the missing number on that first one is 5. Let's see if we can work out the second one. So what would they have had to do for 4 to get it to 1? Well, just like before, I know that if you divide any number by itself, you're going to end up with 1. Okay, let's see if we can comfortably divide 16 by 4. Yeah, you know that. So 16 divided by 4, that would leave us with 4. All right. Okay, for this next question, it says Luis has a cooler filled with cans of soda. For every 5 cans of Coke, there are 3 cans of Sprite. So I'm going to write that. We have a ratio of 5 to 3. 5 represents the Coke, and 3 represents the Sprite. Okay. If there are 25 cans of Coke, how many cans of Sprite are there? Okay. So if the Coke number suddenly became 25, then what would the Sprite number become? Well, we got to see what we did to get from 5 to 25, right? So if I multiply 5 times 5, I happen to know that that equals 25. If I do it to one side of the ratio, got to do it to the other side. Okay, 3 times 5, well, that's going to give me 15. So if we end up with 25 cans of Sprite, 25 cans of Coke, we will end up with 15 cans of Sprite. Okay, for this final question, they ask, what percent of 40 is 24? So if I started with the number 40, they want to know what percent of 40 would 24 be. Okay. Well, they've given us a couple of really good clues on this drawing. First of all, if you count these boxes, these add up to 10. There are 10 of these boxes. And if I think about 100%, if there's 10 boxes, well, each box must be 10% of our total, right? So the boxes are worth 4, but they're also worth 10%. So I could do a couple things. I could either count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, knowing that each of those is 10%. 10% times 6 would give me 60%, right? That's one way I could solve it. The other way I could take a look at it is, okay, well 40 is 100% of this drawing. So what is 24? Whoops, I almost wrote that in. All right, this isn't a super comfortable transition, right? If we go just from 40 to 24. So I want to reduce this probably just a little bit. These actually both happen to be um, fact multiples of 5. Okay, so I could pull a 5 out of both of those. If I divided 40 by 5, that would give me 8. And if I divided 100 by 5, that would give me 20. Okay, now that's a little more comfortable to go from 8 to 24. 8 to 24 would be multiplying by 3. And then 20 times 3, because if we do it to the top, we have to do it to the bottom. 20 times 3 would give me 60, which is the same that we happened to find when we did this method. So we have the same answer using two different methods. We can feel pretty comfortable that that's our correct answer. Okay. Great job today, you guys.